congratulations to everybody. That's a big night. You have my total support. You know it.
Yes, sir.
Good luck.
I just spoke on the phone with Roger Marshall and congratulated him on a hard-fought victory.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Gwen Bevel.
And I'm Brett Bogowski. Thanks for joining us after primary election night. And from President Trump himself, it was a big night for Roger Marshall.
Hundreds of thousands of Kansans headed to the polls. Another 215,000 mailed in their ballots. So let's take a look at those results and who's moving on to the November general election.
The big race of the night, Republican nominee for Senate. At 9 o'clock last night, the Associated Press called the race for Roger Marshall. Right now, he leads with about 40% of the vote, 55,000, more than his rival Chris Kobach, and that's something Marshall didn't expect.
Oh gosh, I did not. I thought maybe we wouldn't even know tonight. So just again, thanks to the Republican voters who could see through all the smoke screens.
Now, even though the candidates didn't get a majority, Kansas doesn't have primary runoffs. The candidate with the most votes wins the election. Establishment Republicans feared a Kobach nomination would lead to a general election loss. And the president didn't endorse any candidate, but it was late last night. Marshall got a phone call from President Donald Trump and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who this came quickly after the AP called the race, and now they show their support.
Certainly we're all on the same page. Leader McConnell is very, very calculating. President Trump is the showman as well. So we're glad both of them are on board, keeping the Republican Senate majority at both of our goals, and we're going to keep on that task.
And it was in the last hour President Donald Trump tweeted about the race in Kansas. He said, "A great race run by Roger against a very tough and smart opponent," a reference to Chris Kobach. Marshall has my complete and total endorsement. He says this is not the opponent the Democrats wanted. KSN's Craig Andrews shows you the campaign celebration from Great Bend.
Okay, Roger Marshall got off the phone with President Trump. He talked to Mitch McConnell as well. This has definitely turned into a celebration out here outside Great Bend at Pawnee Rock, Kansas, at the winery out here where he's decided to have his celebration. Getting congratulations from a lot of people, including family and friends. I asked him earlier in the evening about the victory or possible victory. At that point in the evening, this is what he had to say.
We have to beat Barbara Bollea, to beat the Democrats. We have to be one team here.
So again, he got off the phone with the president. He's talked to Mitch McConnell. He says he's very much looking forward to the race come November. He's asking for some party unity at this point. He says he's going to start making phone calls in the morning for that. Outside Pawnee Rock, Kansas. Craig Andrews, KSN News 3.
Craig, thanks so much. Kobach conceded that race soon after it was called, and analysts expected his conservative base to give him a boost. But Kobach says Bob Hamilton pulled many of his votes from the Kansas City area. We asked how he felt about never getting an endorsement from his friend, President Trump.
It's always hard to estimate the impact of a presidential endorsement. It would be, that margin was at this point it looks like about 11%. That's a pretty huge margin. So even a presidential endorsement in a margin of that magnitude might not have made the difference, but you never know.
When asked whether he would run for office again, he said, "I don't know what the future holds."
Now keep this in mind, nearly 100,000 ballots are still outstanding. The Secretary of State's office sent out more than 315,000 ballots, but only 68% came back. We do expect updated numbers later today, but the state will count mail-in ballots through Friday as long as they were postmarked Tuesday. On top of the mail-in ballots, the state will have to go through and count or disqualify provisional ballots, so we may not see official results until Friday.
Looking over to the Democratic side for Senate race, no surprises here. Barbara Bollea blew out opponent Robert Tillman. Tillman grabbed 14% of the vote despite zero fundraising in the second quarter. Analysts expected Bollea to handle this race easily. The former Republican will face Roger Marshall in the November election. And Jasmine Haynes spoke with Bollea's campaign last night after she secured the primary.
Barbara Bollea says she is excited to accept the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate. Bollea gave a digital victory speech on Facebook Live Tuesday night, thanking her husband, family, and supporters. After retiring from her medical practice, she served in the Kansas legislature for 11 years. In last night's speech, she says some of her top priorities are expanding Medicaid, ending surprise medical billing, and rebuilding the economy.
That means no more bailouts for big corporate special interests. We need relief for the families who are struggling to get by. And we need to support small businesses so they can keep people on payroll and hopefully hire more Kansans soon.
And if she goes on to win the general election in November, she would become the first Kansas Democratic U.S. Senator in several decades. Jasmine Haynes, KSN News 3.
Jasmine, thanks so much. After Bollier's win, the Kansas Democratic Party chairwoman released a statement pledging support to her to run in the general election.
So what will the Senate race look like in November? KSN's Carly Wells live in studio, and KSN's political analyst even said this is going to be a little different from the primary.
Good morning. Dr. Roger Marshall secured the seat from his main opponent, Chris Kobach, but a candidate previously thought to be more of a wild card, that was Bob Hamilton. Well, he secured 20% of the GOP vote. This, of course, sets up Marshall to run against Kansas City physician Dr. Barbara Bollier in November. Bollier broke records with her team's fundraising earlier this year, gearing up for a competitive general election. KSN political analyst Dr. Jeff Jarman has previously predicted a large amount of national GOP dollars will flood into Kansas to keep Senator Pat Roberts' seat in Republican hands.
I actually think that race might shape up to be something a little more issue-driven than what we saw in the primary, where there's some really harsh attack ads. I think both candidates are going to focus on the votes and the issues that Kansans want them to fix in Washington.
So this will shape up to be an interesting race with both candidates being physicians. Bollier was a moderate Republican until switching parties in late 2018, which will add another layer to this race. Jarman says to expect lots of political ads for the race in the coming months. Carly Willis, KSN News 3.
Wait and see, Carly. Thank you for that. All four congressmen who represent Kansas are up for re-election this year, and the big first is up for grabs as current Congressman Roger Marshall is running for U.S. Senate.
So let's take a look at that race at 10 last night. The Associated Press called the race for former Kansas Lieutenant Governor Tracy Mann. He has a strong lead of nearly 25,000 votes. KSN's Hunter Funk was with his campaign last night.
It was a big celebration for Tracy Mann once the results came in, but he says this is just the beginning. The room was silent up until supporters received the results that Tracy Mann came out on top. Mann says he didn't see it coming, but was optimistic about his campaign. And after being able to reach thousands of Kansas residents through calls and knocking on doors, he says the fight was worth it.
I knew that we left it on the field. Dr. Clifford ran a great race. He's a good man. I say that every day, but no, I did not see this coming. I was optimistic, but I did not think it would be what it was, so we were just incredibly grateful.
Mann says he's proud of the campaign him and his team ran, but now it's on to the general election. In Salina, Hunter Funk, KSN News 3.
Hunter, thank you for that. Tracy Mann will face off against Garden City teacher Callie Barnett in November. And Barnett won the Democratic primary by more than 6,000 votes. KSN's Alexis Padilla shows you how she's hoping to flip the seat blue for the first time since the 1950s.
Callie Barnett is excited to accept the Democratic nomination for the U.S. House 1st District. She led the race against Christy Caldwell Davis the entire night. She says she is proud of the work done by her team, volunteers, and supporters. This is Barnett's first time running as a candidate, and she says she is feeling a lot of emotions. Barnett is a former teacher and daughter of a third-generation farmer. If elected, she says her top priorities will be agriculture, education, healthcare, and access to broadband.
Most important thing that we have to do in this race is build bridges with people. We have to make sure that we build a community, that we engage new voters, and that we're working across the aisle, person to person, to make sure that people's voices are being heard.
Barnett says she is proud for Kansas for supporting 2 women in the primary race. She says she is ready to move forward to the general election in November. Alexis Padilla, KSN News 3.
Back in Sedgwick County, election results got delayed by nearly 3 hours.
Several races weren't called until 10:30 last night, and the county election commissioner is taking responsibility. Tabitha Lehman said that she had to prepare for this election from home. She was diagnosed with cancer several weeks ago and has been undergoing cancer treatments, which largely kept her homebound, and that included last night.
We would have had our early votes and advance numbers out a lot sooner, but unfortunately, you know, it's just one of those situations where I'm literally hooked up to a chemo pump right now and I can't physically be in the office. I just don't like results coming out this late, so I want to make sure everyone knows I sincerely apologize and I take responsibility for it.
Mail-in and provisional ballots will be counted over the next several days. The results will be updated daily through Friday.
That being said, our KSN News team is updating results from races across our state, and you can find them online at our website, ksn.com. We're going to give you that information as soon as county election offices send us its tallies throughout the rest of the week.
Well, a major budget discussion in Wichita.
Coming up, we're going to show you why the city is considering cutting animal control.
And tracking our next storm as well as severe chance, all coming up in your full Storm Track 3 forecast in just a few minutes.
You're watching Kansas Today with Brett Bogansky, Gwen Bevel, and weather with meteorologist Ronell Williams.